Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. I certainly associate myself with many of the comments by the chairman. I think we've got an administration, a president who's making up foreign policy on a day-by-day basis. I think you've got a tiger by the tail. You have a difficult and enviable job, and I appreciate you spending so much time with us here this morning. We focus on words from the president because our allies and our adversaries listen to those words and they calibrate their actions based upon those words. And well, you're right that the president about 20 to 30 hours later did correct himself after the Helsinki summit to say that he did indeed agree with U.S. intelligence services and not with Putin. 5 days later, he went back on Twitter and said this. So President Obama knew about Russia before the election. Why didn't he do something about it? Why didn't he tell our campaign? Because it is all a big hoax. That's why. So that's the most recent statement from the president, saying that Russia's interference in the election is all a big hoax. So I guess my question is, why shouldn't we accept this most recent statement from the president as U.S. policy rather than the statement that you referenced on July 17th?
Well, Senator, I can't go through the litany of all the statements you just gave. I have a list from January 17, June 17, July 17, July again, July and 17, November 17, March 17. I'm happy to go through them, each of which the president confirmed that he understood that Russia had meddled in the election. And then I could give you, although I couldn't recount them, I could tell you numbers of times when I was personally with him where he told me directly he understood that. And indeed, provided guidance to, at this time it was the intelligence community, but I think he gave similar guidance throughout the government that we needed to do all we could to push back on election interference, and I have a catalog of activities that this administration has undertaken to do just that.
So then what do you make of his most recent statement?
Senator, I'll leave you. You can speculate, you can draw whatever inferences you want for whatever purposes you so choose. Here's what I can tell you. I can tell our allies.
There's no inference. I mean, it's a statement from the president in which he says that the Russian interference in the U.S. election is a hoax from July 22nd. There's no inference that I need to draw from that. That's the president's statement.
Senator, you are certainly trying to draw inferences about the American policy, and I am laying out for you American policy. And I'm happy. Let me talk to you about what we've done on election interference, if I might.
I understand. I understand that you draw a distinction between the president's comments and U.S. policy. What I'm trying to suggest to you is that what the president says is U.S. policy because our allies and our adversaries make decisions based upon those comments. And so let me try to drill down on a specific issue that Senator Corker raised, and that's the comments the president made regarding our potential defense or non-defense of Montenegro. Tucker Carlson asked him a question suggesting that Montenegro is too small to be defended, and the president responded by saying, I understand what you're saying. I've asked the same question. Montenegro is a tiny country with very strong people. Now, I know you are going to tell me today that the official policy of the United States is to defend Montenegro and to defend our NATO allies. But can you understand why we would be concerned that the president would draw a question as to whether we would defend Montenegro? Because in the end, that is a communication to Vladimir Putin about whether the president is going to come to NATO's defense. As you know, an attack on NATO won't be a Russian army moving across a border. It'll be a hybrid attack, a disguised attack. There will be some question as to whether the United States should respond or not. So can you at least understand why we are concerned about the president raising questions about the utility of the United States defending Montenegro?
So I think the president's been unambiguously clear, and I can go read you his policies. And if
I know, but you're going to refer to his policies or the separate statements. I'm asking you about this statement.
Senator, because you
explain it to us.
Senator,
what did he mean?
Senator, the policies are themselves statements as well. Indeed, they're the most important statements that the administration makes.
Well, policies are statements and statements are policies. It goes both ways.
No, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. People I make lots of statements. They're not U.S. policy. The president says things, right? The president makes comments in certain places. We have a National Security Council. We meet. We lay out strategies. We develop policies. right?
So how do I know the
president then
difference?
sets the course.
How do I know the difference between a presidential statement that is not a policy and
Senator.
a statement that is?
Senator, here's what you should look at. Compare the following. Barack Obama speaking tough on Russia and doing nothing. Those
Not
were
true.
It is true.
I understand you want to rewrite the Obama policy on Russia, but that's simply
Okay,
not true. He organized all of Europe and all of the world
Let's go task for task.
to put a comprehensive, unprecedented set of sanctions on Russia. So
The man said he would have more flexibility after
I'm
the
not listening.
election.
My question isn't about. I know you want to turn constantly back.
I just want to look at facts and
President
policy,
Obama.
Senator. I'm trying to get to U.S. policy. It's what I do. I'm America's chief diplomat implementing U.S. policy.
I think you have been dealt a tough hand, and you do a credible job with it. Let me turn. Let me ask a less adversarial question to end with. I think you said two very important things on North Korea. You said that they have agreed to denuclearize, and that they understand our definition of denuclearization.
That's correct.
What is most important is that those two statements link, is that they have agreed to denuclearize according to our definition of denuclearization. Is that your testimony today?
The definition was set forward, and denuclearization was agreed to. I don't know what else to.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm just trying to understand.
I'm trying to articulate what's been agreed to. We made clear what we viewed as the scope of denuclearization. It's not dissimilar to what how the UN has characterized it and how the South Koreans have characterized it. And when we did that, the North Koreans said, yes, we agreed to denuclearize.
So your understanding is their commitment is upon our definition?
Yeah, it is, Senator. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.